Hello everyone and welcome to the Knysna Cycle Tour virtual race. At times like this where we can't race outside, this is the next best option. We are live in studio, ready to bring you the live Knysna Cycle Tour virtual race. Today's race proudly presented by Trade Route Active. The guys are going to be racing in the Utopia Zwift map, and today I am privileged to have Tony Harding in the commentary box with me. Tony, welcome and thank you for joining.
Marlo, great to be here. I wish I was drinking a beer and having some oysters as I normally would be doing at this time of the year down at the Knysna Cycle Tour. But living in the crazy world, it is what it is, and we're still going to present a very good race today. I think these guys, you can see them on the start line, they're all raring to go. I'm looking for a place to actually get the car involved there, but I can't see too many other team vehicles right now. But I reckon we're in for a good race.
Brilliant. Let's take everyone through what the guys have on the cars today. So the distance is 42.7 kilometers. 356 meters of climbing. It's a 2-lap course, so they're doing 2 laps of about 21.5 Ks. You can see there that Titan Grove section there, that KOM. It's a 2.6 kilometer climb. It's a slight drag at 2.2%. Do you think that can put some sting in the legs for the guys?
I really do think that the guys that are prepared to, or that know the route and have studied the route, because that's the advantage in virtual racing. If you know your route, you're already at an advantage to anybody else. I think those guys who know when that's coming will be prepared for it. If you're up near the front and you actually put in a bit of an effort, I think you can catch a couple of guys out. I would imagine that your climbers, they'll all be okay over there, although it's not a climb like your Alpe d'Huez, but they will be okay. They'll hang in there. Your sprinters are the guys to worry about in an event like this. So a guy like Brad Guveris here again, he's in the pound seats here today with the kind of wattage he puts out. That's a little bit of a bump for him, but if you're going to hurt him anywhere, that's going to be your opportunity to hurt him.
Brilliant. I see. We are looking at the Zwift Utopia map now. It looks a lot more warmer and cozy as opposed to the last couple of years at the Knysna cycle race where it's been rainy and misty.
Yeah, I can't see any rain here. If you look in the background there might be a little bit of leftover snow on the peaks there, but these guys are all in their short bib shorts, no arm warmers, no leg warmers, socks, one or two guys' socks maybe a little bit high for the UCI liking, but yeah, they're already on the start line. Doesn't seem to be a lot of wind around, so you can be assured that when the gun goes, these guys are going to be flying.
So 9 minutes to go before the guys rear off into the distance. Before we head over to the start line, let's have a look at some of the sponsors that have brought the race to everyone today. So the Knysna Cycle Tour, the official race sponsors, and the foundation it supports is the Rotary Foundation. Tony, you spoke to me a lot about this foundation early on. Can you run us through kind of some of the details?
Marla, I was fortunate. My gran did a lot of work with this foundation when she was still alive. She actually, one of the most prestigious awards you can get is the Paul Harris Award, and she was awarded the Paul Harris Award for the work she did. It's based around community. They do a lot of work in the community with local businesses, and it's an absolutely awesome club to belong to. It is a Rotary club, and you have guys, all like-minded people, looking out for those less fortunate around them, helping where they can in communities. It's an absolutely amazing organization.
Brilliant. Nutri-Tech, another sponsor, Powerade, Spur, Steak Ranches, Elite Marquees, and the Knysna Hollow Country Estate. So thank you to our sponsors for bringing this race to us. They would normally be the sponsors of the main event. And another foundation that this race is supporting is the Phil Liggett Foundation. So the funds donated to that foundation obviously goes back into funding young South African cyclists wanting to compete on the international stage. So it's for a great cause. It's great that these guys are still able to compete at the Knysna Cycle Tour, even though it's virtually at this stage. But I'm sure they're ready to head back out onto the road and get going with some real races. So let's head over to the start line of today's event with 7 minutes to go. And there we can see the boys on the start line. We have about I think 60 riders in this particular event. It's a Support SA Talent race on Zwift, which means it's not limited to South African riders only. So there will be a few international riders amongst the South African riders as well. So we must just look out for those riders. Tony, quick question: being in the cycling world and a team manager and team owner, is there any news on when these riders will be able to race out on the road?
Milo, we have no news as such. I know that Cycling South Africa, the governing body, is in communication constantly with the government, various government departments, trying to sort it out. The president is trying to find out when these roads will be open to us to use again. At the moment, it seems as though virtual racing is pretty much what is on our calendar for the foreseeable future. There are some guys that we are gearing up. We're hoping that we are able to travel again out of the country, and that'll allow us to take our professional guys and go and base them overseas again, that they can get back into proper racing. But at this point in time, we still can't have these huge mass events. And although the elite racing only makes up a small portion of that, most of our race organisers in South Africa are geared around the mass participation. So without those mass participation events, unfortunately, we don't have much racing going.
Unfortunately so, but this is the second best option at the moment. The riders still keeping fit. Do you think they can translate this type of racing and power output onto the road when they're eventually allowed to race? Or is it going to be a progression to being able to kind of condition the body for the normal type of races?
I think it's going to be a shock to some of them. Your virtual racing suits your strong TT guys, it suits them. You will see some of the guys battling. If you've watched any of the British football of late, you'll find those guys, you'll see them with about 20 minutes to go of the game. They're sort of puffing and gasping for breath. They don't have that match fitness. The same with these guys. They're great for racing an hour now, but it's pretty intense. You're on the limit most of the time here. There's no real freewheeling. You freewheel in virtual racing, you're out the bunch. So it's constantly on the pedals. They're great for that hour. I think once you start giving them 2 hours, 3 hours, that will start catching up on them. I think a lot of these guys are going to have to do some LSD, long, slow distance, before they get back into proper racing fitness. They will be fit. They'll have that base, but it's going to be very short and concentrated.
Brilliant. Let's have a look at some of the riders on the start line today. We have our South African Criterium champion on the start line, Brad Guveris. I think he's going to be a massive favourite for today's race. He's proven himself in these type of Zwift type of events that it really suits him, and he does have a big pack of watts that he knows how to punch out on his indoor trainer. So I think he's going to be a big threat today. Which one of the Pro Touch riders do you kind of see to be a threat today?
Well, I think when it comes to that final kick at the finish and the wattage that you put out, I mean, if you look at a guy like Harbia, he puts out about 916 watts over a 15-second period. That is what you'll use in your kick to the line. You've got Gustav Besson. He's putting out about 761, so a little bit less wattage. But it's how you play that game. It's how you time it. If you can time your finishes the way that they do on a road race, it works exactly the same. Don't go too early. Go too early, you might put out 1,000 watts, but if you've gone too early, you're going to battle to sustain that 1,000 watts. So it's all about the timing. I think the guys that have been doing the virtual racing week in and week out are starting to learn those things. You can just see by the guys that are on the start line, virtually in that front row, those are guys who are starting to understand that, guys, as soon as this gun goes, we need to be moving, and we need to be moving fast. We need to put out a good 700 watts to get started. So they're learning how to play the game. There's certain things within the virtual racing world that if you can learn those little tricks and tactics, it's going to benefit you. Being early on the start line is great, but then timing that sprint at the finish. So while Brad seems to have be the guy here with the most number of horses at the finish, it's whether he gets the timing right or not.
Brilliant. Some other names in the peloton today. Travis Barrett from Office Guru Runner 23 Racing, the Cape Town Cycle Tour winner. That was probably the last race out on the road, to be honest, if I'm not mistaken. If it was the last race that these guys did on the road. And JP Lloyd, also another contender for today's race. He's proven himself day in and day out that he is committed to racing on this platform, and he has got a few results. Currently also leading the Support SA Talent Virtual Racing Series, which runs on a Wednesday. So I think he's also a very good guy today. We see Tinus van der Bank from Hartleaf, and David Garrett, they teammates down from Cape Town from Team Hartleaf. We have the Kinetic boys there as well. So hey, it looks like the Cape Town guys getting involved. It looks like Joburg vs Cape Town at the moment.
Yeah, I like it a lot. There's a couple of very, very good youngsters in here. You got that Jonathan Bauer. He's a junior still. Puts out some impressive wattage. He puts out about 1,113 watts in a 50-second interval. that's pretty impressive for a youngster. He's still a junior. You've got young Zander de Preer from Cape Town as well. He used to be based in Johannesburg. I know his dad and his family very well. His dad's a big guy, mountain biker, Andre, but Zandre is really doing a good job. So he's a youngster who's learning, applying what he's learnt in virtual racing to this kind of event. And you see him up there, he's on the scoreboard, and it's good to see these youngsters as well, being able to mix it with the slightly older, more professional, more, I don't want to say more talented guys, but more experienced guys.
Travis Steadman, another junior rider who's on the start line today from Steel and Pipes, a rider based down in Durban, so there's some KZN representation on today's race. I also see the Office Guru manager on the start line today, trying to race against his boys. Jamie Taylor, he's joined me for a few commentary sessions the last couple of weeks, and he's also loving this Zwift platform. So there's 40 seconds to go before these guys kick off and head for the 42 kilometers that they have on the course today. 2 laps of a 21.5 about kilometer course. So guys, get involved, leave your comments in the comment section if you are tuning in. This is the Knysna Cycle Tour virtual race.
Guys, if I give the Office Guru manager a tow, Jamie, up the hill, be careful on the descent, you won't see him again.
And there we go, 10 seconds to go. So we're looking at the we're going to be looking at Ken Main's screen before we head off. Let's just go across to him. There we go. So let's zoom out. So these races, it's absolutely full gas from the start. If you look at the watts there in the top left-hand corner, 450, 500 watts. It's crazy. The heart rate going straight up, 150, 160. But these guys would have definitely had a proper warm-up before today's race for sure.
That's one of the most important things in virtual racing, is to make sure that you've spent some time, a good 15-20 minutes worth of warm-up, and you've got to be ready to push out that 500 odd watts in the start. You can't push that out the start, you're going to be going backwards at a rapid rate if not. So you can see already we've got a long line here, straight line. Yeah, the guys are hurting already. You've got to be wide awake, and yeah, these guys are moving nicely. We can see Kent there not riding with his helmet today. He's looking really cool. He reminds me of the guys when they used to race back there in the early 90s, no helmets, and that is something that on the road is now something that is required, but in virtual racing, well, what's the chance the guy falls off his trainer and he's going to land on his couch, hopefully.
Brilliant. I see Peter Avenant in there as well, a very strong veteran rider. Yes, he's been whacking out the pain and the watts on the Zwift platform. He's been riding since day one of lockdown. He's been on the trainer and committed to winning races, an absolute powerhouse.
I think Pete has an unfair advantage. We need to look into this because, you know, there's a certain lady that he's married to who's very good at massaging legs, and so I think this guy, as soon as he gets off his indoor trainer, he has a proper rub down, he has a proper leg massage, and this is allowing him to recover far quicker to be here every day. So yeah, he has a huge advantage of the rest of the guys at the moment. Well done, Pete, you're looking good.
Brilliant. Tony, we were chatting earlier about advantages that these guys are starting to adapt with this virtual racing, and you brought up like those kind of marginal gains that these guys could be using a fan, where they're riding. It's unbelievable how these guys have started to adapt to this gamification type of platform. We see, I mean, the power-ups, for example, just using your power-up at the right time can definitely put you in an advantage to your competition.
Milo, when you use something like a burrito power-up, it doesn't help if you use that power-up when you're riding at the back of the bunch, because what that power-up does is it takes away the ability to slipstream, to gain any advantage from drafting. So you don't want to be using that kind of power-up when you're sitting at the back of the bunch. There are other power-ups. If you can time them and use them at the right time, it's going to work for you. You need to learn how to play the game. It's important that you drink and you try and eat through this 50-minute session that you're doing. The more you eat, the more you drink, not only helps you within this race, it also helps you with your recovery afterwards. Okay, we can see the guys still pretty much a good bunch here. Mulman there, Dupree there, Kent Main there, a couple of guys on the front, single file. And yeah, I mean, wattage at the moment, we're down to 273 watts, so that's not too bad. The guys are sitting there pretty comfortably. They're sort of settled into their pace, and they're happy to go at this pace for a while, pushing it back up to 308, over the 300 watts. But yeah, the guys will be good there. We see Brad at the moment, 4.1 watts per kilo, 2.6 Ks into the event, and we're all looking as though we're in for some really, really good, hard, fast racing. It's great to see when we look around at the scenery. We don't see what we're used to seeing at the Knysna Cycle Tour, but yeah, pretty much desert, some really nice looking terrain. Glad the wind's not blowing. We would see a lot of gutter riding if the wind was blowing, but fortunately we've got no wind today, so we're looking good here. Though at the moment there could be a bit of wind blowing in our virtual world with the long single straight line that these guys are riding in.
Sorry guys, we had some technical difficulties there. They were just sorting out a little bit of a lag issue, but it seems to be like we're back up and running, and it should be good. But yes, Tony, like you were saying, you saw, I mean, look at this bunch splitting up at the moment. It's unbelievable the amount of watts these guys are packing out. You're watching Brad Gaveris at the moment putting out 300 watts, 177 heart rate. I think he's still in about third or fourth gear at the moment. He's still got a big engine there that he can take use of. But these guys going at 50 k's an hour. I think anything between 50 minutes an hour. How long do you think these guys will be racing today?
Yeah, I think you got it right. I think you got it about 50 minutes. You know, again, you've got to learn with this racing, Milo. The Zwift have a saying for it, riding in the blob. You've got to ride in the blob here. If you can learn to follow one or two of the wheels around you, you do get drafting helping you. It can save you about 20%. Just be careful when you're drafting that you don't only focus on the rider's wheel in front of you. You still got to watch the rest of your screen. You might get a little message that pops up on your screen telling you that the guy in front is putting in an attack, but that's only the wheel you're following. You've got to keep an eye on what the other guys are doing in the blob to be able to respond and react as quick as possible.
Brilliant. So these guys, they were stretching the bunch out a bit, but it looks like the guys have managed to get back onto the wheel, and the bunch has swollen up again. So there was a big attack. I see HP Kruger there up near the front. He's not going to drift down to the back. He knows he needs to stay at the front of the bunch. Some past winners of the Knysna Cycle Tour. We saw the Pro Touch boy Clint Hendricks take home last year's victory. Tony, were you there last year?
No, I wasn't, unfortunately. But yeah, the guys had a good race last year. The weather was not that great. And Clint did manage to ride off before the end of the race, and he soloed to victory. It's normally a race that has in the past suited the sprinters. The year before that, I think young Chris Jooste Jr. won it. Chris Jooste is not a total out-and-out sprinter, but if you have a look at previous years, you've had guys like Reynard Butler up there. The fast guys are normally able to hang in at the Knysna Cycle Tour. This may be very much the same. I think you'll get the guy who's got those watts that he can kick out as a sprinter at the end. Beautiful scenery here, lovely waterfalls, flowing water. Oh, what a great place to be at the moment. But I'm still missing the beer and oysters.
100%. This race, the Knysna Cycle Tour, it always comes in a weird time of the year for these professional athletes. It's always sort of end of June, middle of July, and it's sometimes that time of year where these guys are actually taking a break in their training to build up for the kind of second part of the racing season. So normally it's the riders who can kind of push through that winter section, and the guys who are keeping their training nice and consistent who will come out and be that eventual winner at that Knysna Cycle Tour. So it's not your traditional winners that kind of win that race, but it is your rider who's staying motivated through winter.
It is absolutely that the way you say it, Milo. It's, if you look last year with Clint Hendricks winning it, we were preparing for another stint overseas. He had come back from some overseas racing, so the motivation was there. There were a lot of goals that had been set for the team already. They were able to keep themselves motivated. That is one of the biggest problems we have with our virtual racing now, is keeping these guys motivated. It is so difficult for a professional athlete to stay motivated without having a goal that he's working towards. these guys are doing the best job they can at the moment. It's sometimes a little bit of a mind issue. You know, it works with the psyche in the head. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do. It's the world we're living in right now, and make the best of it. These guys are on their bikes, they're doing the training, they're doing the virtual racing, and although there aren't goals for every one of them, for those who have goals, they know that we will get back to normal again sometime in the near future.
Right, I was looking at there, Gustav Besson. Just to think, a year ago, or even less than a year ago, he had an injury, he had a broken leg, and to see him back on this type of form, being able to race against his competition, it's great. It's good to see him taking his recovery well and really motivated to get back onto the bike and win races.
Gustav is a really focused rider. You know, he was with ProTouch before he departed the scene for a year, and he then did join us again. He had a horrendous accident. It was a life and death situation. He could have lost his life. He's come back, and then the bad luck seems to have followed him. He got a bad spider bite a while ago, and that put him back in hospital during lockdown, in fact. But he seems to be over that now, and yeah, Milo, for him to be here racing with these guys is great. A year ago, he may never have thought that he'd be back in this situation. So it's good to see Gustav here. He's a very determined young man, very motivated young man, and loves riding his bike. Good tactician on the bike, and yeah, it's good to have him racing along with the rest of the guys in races like this.
Got a pretty fancy hairstyle there. Check out that mohawk. Nice one, Gustav. And all the ProTouch boys in their green kits. I just saw the Cape Town Cycle Tour winner there, Travis Barrett, come past our screen, so it's great to see him also getting involved here. We've got Kent Mania at the back of the bunch as well.
If I'm right, just swapping places with Gustav, there is Brad in that turbo kit. He seems to be moving up and down, and he's gapped Gustav by a couple of meters now, but I don't think there's any panic yet. The guys are riding good wattage, 465 watts at the moment, so it's by no means a gentle walk in the park or walk in the flower fields. Yeah, this is hard work.
Looks like there's an attack going off the front. If you look at those watts per kilos there on the right hand side, these riders at the front, they're edging into that orange zone, which means they're having to put in some big watts to stick here at the front. It looks like there's a rider going off the front, but it looks like HB Kruger, Javier Kruger there he's right at the front of the bunch, and he's watching who's putting in the attacks here. The Kinetic boys, look at them. I think they're the ones throwing the attacks here at the front. Only 2 seconds ahead at the moment, but I think they'll get brought back quite quickly. They should be very close. No, not just yet, but that little drag, I think that comes at about, if I'm not mistaken, 17 kilometers into the race.
Milo, I think that first bump was around about 10 Ks.
Okay,
so yeah, I think by the time we got 17, we'll actually be on the descent. So they must be approaching that little bump in the road now at 8.9 Ks. And we'll see. I think that's why you see some of these guys tussling for a better position, trying to get onto the front. I see Brad has worked himself up again, closer to the front. Kent is up there. You know what? Let's get on that climb. Normally what happens when we summit the climb, the guys actually take the foot off the gas a little bit. If you have filtered through the bunch, you can always get back on again. But yeah, rather be near the front as opposed to being caught out behind slower guys at the back and just missing an actual move that happens. Stephen van Heerden from Team Enz is up there. He's also looking good up there. Steve is a great rider. This kind of terrain also suits him. He is a track boy as well, who is more than capable of putting in a good sprint finish. So he's also a guy to look at. I don't know what kind of training Stephen's been doing, but the fact that he's in here and he's racing with the boys, you know, the guys don't swing a leg over a bicycle frame just for the fun of it.
Yes, so amongst the men, yeah, we're watching and we're focusing a lot on the men's race, but there are actually 4 ladies that entered today's race as well. We have Alnay Owen, she's a youngster coming through the ranks, Michelle Andrew, Adet Boss, and Zelda Kluti. I actually know Adet very well. She's probably one of the ladies who have progressed in cycling very quickly over the last couple of months. She started in January. She did the Cape Town Cycle Tour. She did a sub 3 hour in her first Cape Town Cycle Tour. So she's also been training a lot on Zwift during this lockdown, and she's improved immensely over the last couple of months. So those are our 4 ladies in today's race. Out of those names, I'm guessing Alnay Owen is probably the race favourite for today.
I think it makes it difficult for the ladies as well. With only 4 of them in the race at the moment, it would be great to see far more ladies actually getting onto this platform. But I guess it is new, and it is something that will grow. At the back here, we see a guy really looking good. He's sort of sporting the same kind of hairstyle as Gustav. These guys are stringing it out a little bit. We have little gaps happening on the front.
Yeah, this is the climb, Tony. They're going up the climb. You can see it's getting stretched out. If you look at those watts that these riders are pushing out, it's anything between 400 and 500 watts.
There we go. You can see the slight switchbacks that are happening, and Travis Barrett keeping eye on what's happening up front, sitting in a position where he can respond straight away. His teammate JP Lloyd riding very well on the front of the bunch, so these guys are pretty much in control. We've had a look and try to work out how best to use team tactics. Do you let a guy go up the road? In Zwift you can actually close a gap pretty quickly, so it's difficult to use team tactics, but I guess as we get further into virtual racing we will be looking at that and see how we can use it to our advantage. Steadman's up there, the youngster, looking very good. Kent Main, the boys that are really here to race this race, all looking good. As 42, 43 k's an hour, 11.2 k's in. The top of this first little climb comes around about 13 k's.
These guys battling it out for the very first Knysna cycle to a virtual racing title. I mean, that in itself is quite exciting. Something that's probably going to be seeing more of it. Race organisers unfortunately having to cancel events or postpone events, and this has become the next best option. So JP Lloyd there, if we look at his heart rate and his watts there, I mean he's touching almost 190 beats per minute. For any athlete or any person, that's a very high heart rate. So I can see he's putting in a massive effort. His watts are varying as this climb is undulating, but they're going up 6% now. It's very undulating up and down. I'd compare this to kind of like the cradle.
And these guys aren't going slowly, Milo. These guys are doing 47 k's an hour at the moment. So, it's not just a little dawdle that they're out here Sunday afternoon fun ride. These guys are working hard. JP, I watched him the other day in the Alpe d'Huez, and his heart rate was also pretty high at some stage. So perhaps he's used to riding at that kind of heart rate, high intensity for short periods of time.
These speeds are reminding me of when I used to motor pace your bucky out in the cradle, touching 50, 60 k's. I think I've got your number plate imprinted on my brain. So training on the indoor, the next best option at the moment.
Yeah, for this kind of racing, for those good accelerations, for those intervals, some motor pacing is always a good thing. Build up the speed. Bucky is not always ideal. Great to get behind a little motorbike of some sort. But yeah, tuck in behind that, and it absolutely helps with your speed work. Once you can get that leg speed up, you're then able to race your bike properly.
Brilliant. Tony, going forward, like this type of racing and the youngsters coming through, I know we've seen teams like NTT Pro Cycling and the Canyon ladies team as well. They've got their kind of Zwift Academy, which they kind of base off powers and numbers and racing on this Zwift platform. Is it something that maybe for you as a team owner would consider kind of incorporating into joining your continental setup at a later stage?
Milo, for old school guys, it's sometimes difficult to get your head around all this wattage and functional thresholds, but most definitely it is the way the sport has gone. There's no looking back and saying, oh well, let's stay old school. This is the way the sport has progressed, and when it's there and it's available for you to use, I think you'd be pretty silly not to actually keep an eye on some of these figures that these youngsters are pushing out. And it's a great way to say to guys, if you want to reach the level of a continental team, you need to be able to achieve an average of 4 watts per kilo. If you want to reach a pro conti team, let's start looking closer to 6. If you want to reach a pro tour team, one of the Tour de France teams who should have started yesterday as well, the Tour de France, then 6 plus and you're in with the shot. But yeah, it's something definitely worthwhile looking at, and with the science out there, I think anybody would be silly not to actually make use of that facility.
We're just in from the Office Guru manager, Jamie Taylor. He says Travis Barrett's Wi-Fi has dropped, and which means he's been dropped out of the race. So no more Travis Barrett, unfortunately. So that's one rider less that these guys have to worry about. But if you look there, that is H.B. Kruger just ahead of J.P. Lloyd at the moment. You can see he had a little feather above his head. It looks like he's activated that and he's putting in a big attack now to try and split this group. The featherweight makes the rider slightly lighter for 30 seconds, and so you can really take advantage of that on these small little drags. So I saw there Hobia using his featherweight, and you can see he's stretching out the bunch with that featherweight. 522 watts that JP Lloyd is currently pushing.
I think that message you got from Jamie now with regards to Travis, I don't know if Travis's Wi-Fi dropped. I think maybe Travis he got instructions from the boss to help him push him up that climb. So maybe that's why he's not on the screen anymore. But yeah, Jamie, if it is the Wi-Fi that's dropped, unlucky. But I think it's more maybe giving you a helping hand up that climb.
I must say, in these Zwift races, they are insanely difficult. They're hard. You sweat like a machine, and sometimes just to pull your own trainer out from the wall is not a bad idea as well, or to unplug your Wi-Fi for a couple of seconds and just and just give your legs a bit of a break. I must say I've done that before.
We can see this bunch has got a lot smaller. You got Kent in here, you got Brad in here. The guys all watching each other. You got Harvey in here, you got JP in here. So the guys who really out to win this race, they've made this move. What do we got here? We got 8 riders.
It's almost like the breakaway.
And it looks like it's a good breakaway, yeah.
They have 18, 19. It's constantly growing, but they have 20 seconds on a chasing group of 3, and 50 seconds down there's another group busy chasing. But in terms of race winners, I think these are the names that were expected to be up there today.
Most definitely. And the danger man sitting pretty, he's watching here. He'll try and do as minimal as possible, get as much from drafting as possible. We see aero tuck happening there on the front. So yeah, even in the virtual world, we got the guys aero tucking.
That happens when the riders are going over 60k an hour and they stop pedaling on their trainer. So very interactive. These new smart trainers, it's amazing at how they can actually simulate a real feel. As soon as these guys go up a hill or down a hill, the trainer actually adapts to that gradient, and they can feel it on their trainer. So anything over 60 kilometers an hour in this virtual world, if you stop pedaling, they take advantage of the air attack, which is quite amazing, I must say. But the guys hitting 55, 60k an hour now on this downhill, they're going on a negative gradient. Oh, you can see there, just punches up there, 6%, 7%, in and out of these forests. Beautiful scenery.
You can see 1 or 2 of the guys actually climb up out of the saddle now and again. And these guys are working. They're trying to keep that chasing bunch away. This hopefully they're looking at making it the winning move of the day. We're still not past halfway, so there's still a long way to go. But at the wattage these guys are putting out, you're going to have to do some real work at the back if you want to catch them. Don't let this gap get much bigger than it is. At the moment, hovering around 30 seconds. Be careful. 30 seconds is already a pretty good gap.
These guys are about 4 kilometers away to finishing their first lap. They'll then come around and do a second lap, which will then give them a total of 43.7 Ks. But looking at this course, it's definitely not easy. I thought it was going to be a lot easier than what these riders are actually experiencing at the moment. I thought it would be a lot more flat, but these little sections where it's quite punchy, I think these are this is putting a big sting in the legs. If horses for courses, I think if this route was out in the real world, I think this would suit someone like Harvey Kruger, don't you think?
Milo, I think when we get to 33 Ks in, we get to the Titans Grove climb again, and I think that's when you're going to see it, yeah. So you've got to be careful. You've got to be able to pace yourself now, and I see Brad is doing a very good job of that, knowing that he's a strong sprinter. You can see him sitting off the back, using a bit of drafting when he can, not too much effort, moves up along the side every now and again. Harvey Kruger is in a very good position here with the kind of kick and the finish he has as well. So, but he's got to be careful that he doesn't do too much of the work too early. Timing is vitally important in this, as it is in any bike race. cycling is a game of patience. You burn all your matches in the first lap, you're in trouble. You need to burn those matches slowly. Keep the petrol in the tank, so to speak. And if you can sit at a pace that you're comfortable at, you know what you can commit to at the end. Then you can empty that tank.
Peter Avenant sitting tightly against the youngsters. We see Travis Steadman. It's what's very cool about this virtual type of racing is that no matter who you are, if you're a World Tour rider, club rider, young, old, you all race together. And I think that's one of the special things about this racing. We saw our South African national champion take part in a race a couple of weeks ago. It's not often someone like Travis Steadman would get to race someone of that type of caliber, and sometimes in a sense beat him, which gives him a little bit of bragging rights. But it's great that everyone can race together and experience the power outputs of all different types of riders.
I think it's absolutely awesome for the youngsters. I think for the older boys as well. Pete, sorry that I'm calling you old, but I think for those guys it's great. It's a great achievement, and it also helps to motivate the youngsters. Why wouldn't you be motivated if you can say, well, I did this Knysna cycle tour and I was mixing it there with Kent Main, Harbia Kruger. I was there with them near the finish. That's great motivation. And if anything, if we can motivate more of these youngsters, we need that next crop coming through. I mean, just the other day, Kent was still junior. Kent is now already elite. We need these guys coming through the under 23 level. Cycling continues to grow, continues to improve, and these young boys all have a big part to play in it. So I'm glad to see these youngsters up here mixing it with the more seasoned pros.
Kent Main earlier this year, Tony finished 4th overall at the Tour of Rwanda. I know people can't actually comprehend how big that result is, and I've mentioned it a few times on this platform. Rwanda has massive climbs. The competition is high. The living conditions are not kind of as we have it here at home. Can you give us just a rundown of how special that type of result is for a continental team based in South Africa, and also for you as a team owner, having gone there, I think it's 3 times now, and eventually sticking it out and kind of achieving such a big result?
Milo, that race continues to grow in stature year in, year out. I mean, we see more and more pro-continental teams, World Tour teams taking part in that event. And for a continental team to go there and achieve the results we did this year, like you say, we've been there previous 2 years and it's been hard. The first year we went there, we found ourselves racing against half the field Rwandans. It was very difficult. You virtually raced against 30 guys in one team when there should only have been 5 guys in the team. But we've learned how to adapt to that. The climbs are extremely difficult. There's no letting off the pace. The Rwandan cyclists are great climbers, but then so are a lot of the other World Tour teams that come across to that event now. And for Kent to get that result, I think it's not sour grapes. I think we were a little bit unlucky, but I think he could have got a third. He could have finished 3rd on the podium. He was very unlucky not to have, but we'll take that 4th place with a great big smile any day. If you'd told us 3 years back when we first took a stab at riding Tour of Rwanda that we would, in 3 years' time, have a guy sitting in 4th position on GC in that event, I would have told you, I think you're absolutely crazy. But it just goes to motivate these guys and show them that we can compete against the best in the world, and that filters back to the youngsters. If ProTouch can do it, if Kent can do it, why can't we do it? And that's what we like to see. That's what's it about. We need to make our guys want to have that hunger to achieve what these guys are achieving. We achieve it on a very small budget, a tight budget. There's a lot of control that goes around it, but there's great riders. There's great riders in lots of other teams within South Africa, and I'm only too happy to see these guys stepping up in races like this, albeit virtual racing, that they up there, the youngsters.
Yeah, there's so much talent that we have in South Africa. We just need to get it exposed to the higher level. I mean, like you say, there's World Tour teams that take part in that event. The guys that are riding in the Tour de France, the Giro, the Vuelta, that's literally the riders that you race against at the Tour of Rwanda. So it's fantastic to see, just by giving a team and athletes the opportunity, they can definitely rise up to the occasion and pull off a very good victory.
Milo, what we've got to remember when we talk about a World Tour team, we're talking about one of the top 20 teams in the world. That's a pretty mean feat to be able to challenge against those guys. We're talking about guys that have budgets, 60, 80, 100,000 euro budgets. I mean, that's huge amounts of money. Those guys are so kitted. They have so many personal trainers and people looking after them, soigneurs, support staff. To be able to do that with the Conti team and achieve that fourth on that podium is absolutely phenomenal. So, guys, it can be done. It doesn't matter how small you are. You know, I don't mind going to any race with any one of these guys wearing this green kit. And please, you know, we can go there as the underdog, but we come to race our bike. So be careful when that dog bites you.
Brilliant. You see the guys have just gone through the first lap, so they are onto their second lap. They're on the flatter part of this course now, and when they hit that forestry section, I think there's going to be one or two attacks going off the front, definitely. I mean, there's definitely a small breakaway that has formed. It's almost like these smaller races are a lot harder because you can't really hide away. We do see one of the riders, they have a featherweight. Who is that? I can't really see who it is at the moment, but he has a featherweight. He's going to be keeping it for those climbs. It's going to give him an advantage up those little kickers. Tony, just on that note of teams and that, you speak about continental teams, World Tour teams. Just give the viewers a little bit of a kind of insight and detail as to how the team rankings work and what it takes to become a registered team on a certain level.
Milo, the rankings are very interesting, and each race you go to, depending on the difficulty of the race, the length of the race, the severity of the climbs, will be given a grading. Most multiple stage races are given the grading of a 2 point something. So 2.1 will be really a difficult race, 2.2 lesser difficulty, something like Tour of Limpopo, 2.3 the difficulty is far less than that 2.1. So your points will then change. You'll get points awarded to you for top 20 finishes. Most of your points are gained with first 3 places every day over the line on your stages, and then normally top 20 to 25 over GC. It's a culmination of those points that actually puts you into the rankings as to where you finish. So our goal when we first started was to be the number 1 ranked team in Africa. We've been fortunate to keep that ranking going, even though the racing has been limited this year. When we started, it was to be ranked in the top 100 teams in Africa. We managed to achieve that in the 2019 season. This year's goal was to make the top 50 on a continual basis, be consistently in that top 50. Unfortunately, the bit of a curved ball's been thrown. But yeah, those are the goals we've set ourselves, and it is something that is achievable. You know, it takes a lot of hard work, it takes a lot of planning, it takes a lot of behind the scenes planning. You have to have managers that know how the game works, who understand the psyche of cyclists, who also have great logistic skills. We're fortunate to have one of those in our stable. And you also have to have that support staff who sit back in the office, who organize the sponsors, who keep the team together. And it's a big job, but it can be done. I think cycling in South Africa still has a huge way to go. We have a lot of great guys that are out there on the scene. You know, we look at the Daryl Impies, we look at what Ryan Gibbons is doing, we look at some of the youngsters that are starting to progress. There's no reason why some of these guys can't make that step up at a later stage either. So it's really interesting and exciting to watch this racing. Again, if we go back to our virtual year, going through the desert, 24.8 Ks, I think that Olive Grove, the bumps, or Titans Grove bumps start again at about 30 Ks in. So yeah, not too far. We see little splits going off the front. These guys are watching very carefully what's happening. You don't want people getting away from you at this stage of the race.
If I'm just looking at over at the comment section, you see Catherine Colleen asking, is this just a men's only race? Is there no pro ladies? Catherine, yes, there is a ladies race going on. There are 4 ladies that entered today's event, 2 in the ladies A cat and 2 in the ladies B cat. We have Alnay Owen and Michelle Andrew in the ladies A category, and we have Adet Boss and Azilda Kluti in the ladies B cat. So unfortunately, quite disappointing that there's not a lot of ladies on the start line. For future events, we obviously encourage more ladies to get involved, and that could help us speak more about their race. But we will head over to their screens once we have finished with the men events, the men's race. So there is a ladies' race happening. Unfortunately, only 4 ladies there. So we'll switch over to their screen shortly to catch up with what they're doing. We just need to find their names on the Zwift Companion app. Brett Duncan, one of our sponsors today. Today's event brought to you by Trade Route Active. Brett Duncan, one of our sponsors. So thank you for putting a comment in there, Brett. Great riding for all these riders, and yeah, looking forward to actually the finish. It's this kind of undulating section that they're going to go through. I think it's definitely going to split the group up. I'm thinking about 3 or 4 riders heading into today's finish. What do you think, Tony?
I think you could be spot on there, although, I'm watching the Danger Man and he's still sitting looking really comfortable. Brad Goveris is sitting here, under 23 rider, based down in the Eastern Cape, and he looks to be in control. He's not taking too much strain at the moment. Every now and again, an Office Guru rider pushes through Travis Steadman, the youngster pushes through Travis Steadman. He's riding really well at the moment, and he's a good guy to watch in the future. The 2 boys in green, Harbia Kruger and Kent Main, both up there. So I see Peter Havenant still up there. Well done, Pete. Keep hanging in there, boy. Maybe you can attack them on the bottom of that climb, and let's see if we can put in a proper time trial and you can ride them off your wheel. But yeah, it's looking really exciting at the moment, and this is definitely where the winner's going to come from.
So this is Michelle Andrew. She is in the ladies A category race. So she's sitting very closely to Adet Boss. Adet now 14 seconds just behind Michelle at the moment, but she is currently second. So Michelle and the lady from Nelspruit are breaking away from Adet. Zelda Kluti is 3 minutes and 1 second down. So those are our ladies taking part in today's race. Catherine, let us know why you didn't race today. It would have been great to see you on the start line as well. Andres Negrini, nice listening to the commentary for a change. Oh, thanks for the comment there. Let's head over back to the men's race. As we've seen there, they are 21 k's in, so they almost finished their first lap, the ladies. So that's just a little bit of the ladies race. We encourage more ladies to take part in the future. It would be great to have a full-on dedicated ladies race. Just looking for Harbia Kruger screen here. And let's look for Kent. Harbia's not coming up.
Andres, I see your comment there, but I have seen you racing in a couple of the virtual races, so better to have you racing on the bike than listening to our commentary. It's far more exciting for us. Who wants to listen to a bunch of guys yakking away? It's good to see you racing your bike. So let's hope that the reason you're taking a rest sees you back on here soon enough. But it makes for exciting racing when I see young guys like you in the bunch racing and mixing it up.
Look at this beautiful view we got there, Tony, over the flowers, the sunflowers. That's almost like one of those Tour de France views where they have like a drone or a car next to the road. I mean, that's a beautiful view. But I see definitely some attacks coming or going off the front here. Oh no, these riders now catching some of the riders who have, they're essentially lapping a few of the riders coming up. So you can see their C batch, JP Lloyd. So JP Lloyd and Travis Steadman putting in an attack. They have a small gap, 1 second, nothing too stressful just yet, but these guys are heading closer and closer to the undulating climbs. Yeah, but like you said, Tony, Andres, he's been putting in some hard yards on the Zwift platform. I've seen him week in, week out, so definitely he's probably just having a little bit of a rest at the moment.
Great rider. Just wish that his focus was 100% on the road. I don't know if it may be like that now, but he's also a pretty good and talented mountain bike rider. So he has the best of both worlds, and sometimes it's difficult to choose which one you're actually going to concentrate on. But super talent. So another one that may not even be on his bike in this race, but there are so many talented guys out there. South Africa's cycling is in a good position. I know that the whole world is in a crazy place at the moment, and that puts our cycling a little bit on the back foot as well. But there is amazing talent in this country, and there's amazing talent that comes out of all the provinces. If you look at how many guys are riding in the Kinetic team, I mean, the Kinetic team is, I think I saw 7 or 8 of them on the start line. That's great to see. The guys in the Cape always have good racing. They enjoy this kind of racing. They have a bit of a crit series that goes in winter. At the moment, the weather's pretty grotty down in Cape Town, so I don't know how many of them were out on their bikes this weekend, but a lot of rain they're having, and some, you know, a couple of floods here and there. But it's good to see these guys from all over the country actually coming to the fore.
Tony, let's get some predictions going here. If you're watching today's race, let us know who you think is going to win today's race. Obviously, this very small group at the moment gone off the front. About 8 guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 9 riders at the front at the moment. So all their names on the side there, they are pretty much the riders who we anticipated to be in the front today. I'm going with Brad Gaveris.
Oh, Miles, that was a no-brainer for you. I knew you would do that. So
the only reason why I choose him is because I've got it wrong before, and I know how lethal he can be.
Okay, so look, I'm a bit one-eyed. I have a soft spot for the Office Guru youngsters, but I am my blood is green, so you know, I'm a Pro Touch guy. I have to look at Kent actually giving Harbia a lead out here. Harbia's due a win. I think he has it in him. Kent won on Alpe d'Huez. I think it is Harbia's chance to have a go. And although Brad is an extremely dangerous rider, Steadman is also a very good young rider who's dangerous. I'm going to put my money on one of my boys, and I'm going to say Harbia Kruger. Brad, not because I don't rate your talent. I know how strong you are. But yeah, my blood is green.
Brilliant. So we've predicted Brad Gaveris and Harbia Kruger for today's victory. I think that's quite a safe bet. But if you're watching today's event on the live stream, let us know in the comment section below, and we can maybe put a prize out for the predictions. That might be quite cool to see. But these guys on 30.8 kilometers into today's race, and it's starting to go up and down once again. They're heading into the forest section, and this group is going to be I think it's going to be a race of survival.
Yeah, we go. This is where it's going to be interesting. I see we're heading into that Titans Grove area again, and small little switchbacks. We're just at the bottom, but yeah, if anybody's going to start lifting the pace, you can see that gentle drag, and that gentle drag really is painful, especially when you've been going at this pace. These guys are now going to start feeling it in their legs. So these little bends that we're going up for the next 3Ks is definitely going to start sorting out. If we should drop anybody, it's going to be on this portion of the race.
It's going to be interesting to see, because if someone gets away, they're going to have to hold it off for the running into the finish. And it's about I think a 5 to 6K flat section over this undulating kind of terrain, which to hold someone off is going to be quite interesting. But some talented cyclists in today's race. These are the cream of the crop professional cyclists in South Africa. We have the Pro Touch boys, we have the Office Guru boys, we have Travis Steadman, we have Peter Avenant, Brad Gaveris, and these guys are full taps, almost in the red zone, I would say.
Yeah, the feed zone is open, so feeding is open. If you want to call your car up, you're more than welcome. Just show your hand, and it's vitally important, even in virtual racing, that it's just one of those other tips that we can give you. It's important to rehydrate while you're on that bike. Keep drinking. If you can have something to eat sitting on the table next to you, eat it. It's not only going to help you now in this race, but it's going to help you with your recovery. It's going to allow you to recover far quicker. You're going to be able to train again decently tomorrow, and then race your next event again in a week's time. So even though it's virtual racing and you think it's only 40 odd Ks and it's a 50-minute effort, eating and fueling yourself in this virtual race is just as important as it is out on the road.
We see Sean there in the comments section backing his KZN boy there, Travis Steadman. Okay, so we've got another prediction in there. In the ladies race, he says Alne Owen. So yeah, that's not a bad prediction. Maybe we should give Peter Avenant some credit. No, but I'll stick with my prediction. Can't change it now.
Pete's good. He's a great bike rider. He enjoys his racing. If you look at him with those long levers of his, those long legs, you sometimes wonder if he's got the best body for racing, but he has not let that deter him in any way whatsoever, any form whatsoever. He's great on his bike. He really rides hard. He rides with passion. You can see when he's finished a race that he's always given his all. I just am not sure that he's got that kick at the finish to be able to compete with the absolute power of the Brads. I have to say the Harpiers.
Tony, looking at this scenery that these guys are riding through, it's actually very similar to what we would experience in the real life Knysna cycle tour. If you think about the race that goes out towards Sedgefield, you turn around at Sedgefield and you come back before hitting a left up into the mountains, and it looks very similar. It almost looks like at the top there in the real Knysna race, it's like a little Switzerland up at the top of those climbs, and it almost looks exactly like these riders are going through that section at the moment.
It's great. I did see a dinosaur there, and my brother's mother-in-law lives down there, so maybe that was her on the right. But I don't know that we'll have dinosaurs in Knysna. But yeah, it's beautiful scenery. It's so great to look at. I mean, it does put you in a different world. This is the virtual world, and we can make it whatever we want. We can put ourselves wherever we want to be, and this is great. You know, who says that when we go over this next crest and we start heading down towards the finish, we're not going back down towards the little bridge towards Knysna Lagoon into the finish? You know, we can be anywhere. But yeah, how great is the scenery? It's good to look at. I don't know if I would be doing such a great job as a manager there today, being a bit of a camera fanatic. I think I would have stopped half a dozen times just to take a couple of photos of some of the scenery. But it's good to see it, and I'm not sure these boys racing are seeing too much of the scenery. But yeah, their heads are down, and they're on that climb, and they're working hard.
Just another thing on those dinosaurs, someone told me a few weeks ago is that those dinosaurs actually roam around in this virtual world freely. So they're not just put there for certain times of the day or certain courses. They actually roam free in this Watopia world, which is it's quite interesting. They're free to fly.
And at this time of the day, they tell me they get quite hungry. So if you're Jamie and you're at the back and you happen to be on your own, be careful. You could become a meal.
Brilliant. These riders are now heading into these rolling climbs. They have been on this kind of section for quite a while. 41k an hour they're currently cycling at. 34 k's into this race, 10 k's to go, and we can see there, shucks, these guys are pushing some big watts. JP Lloyd, he stayed quite consistent between 400 and 500 watts. Heart rate 187. I think you're right when you say he doesn't actually have a high heart rate, because I mean his heart rate's been up there all afternoon.
Yeah, I think if that wasn't something natural, he wouldn't still be here. So I think with his age, he's fortunate he can still push out that wattage linked to a higher heart rate. It doesn't seem to affect him too much. I haven't seen him doing anything really too silly at the moment, so he hasn't really attacked too much. He's saving himself. He's also a threat. He's he's putting out a real high wattage, and he's a strong youngster. He's a guy who can do a job, and his boss rates him highly. I think he's got a great future in cycling ahead of him. I rate him pretty highly, and he's a good guy to watch for the future, most definitely.
Van Moorman putting his money on Travis as well. So it looks like the KZN guys are sticking with the KZN riders, and everyone's backing their boys there. I see ProTouch saying Harbier or Kent. JP Lloyd, there's someone saying JP Lloyd, Michelle. So I think it's very open-ended at this stage, but as you were saying there, I saw JP actually put in a big attack when you're saying that he was hanging low. But you can see if we turn the camera around, you can see one or two guys going off the back there, but I think everyone's still tucked in. This is that nice fast section for these riders where they can stop pedaling and recover and do that little aero tuck. Almost done 300 meters of climbing in 36 k's. That's not a lot if you compare that to that's about 3 North Cliffs. I think that's enough elevation to put the sting in the legs in 30 k's.
Yeah, and the interesting thing to see here, you've got Pete Avenant near the back. Just in front of Pete, you've got Brad Guveris, and at the back, sitting tucked in behind them, gaining a little bit of that slipstream, now moving himself right through them to the front. positioning himself in front of his teammate Kent Main. You've got Harbia Kruger. So it's important. It's important in this racing also to know your finish. If you're going to do virtual racing, the better you know the finish, the more advantage you have as well. You want to leave that finish as late as possible. You want to kick at exactly the right time. Your true sprinters, the Nolan Hoffmans, those kind of guys, they really, really know what's going on. I see we got a comment here again from Sean Lucian. How the ladies doing? Guys, it's difficult. There are only 4 ladies racing, 2 in the A category, 2 in the B category. I will ask Milo if he can go and find them, but with 37 Ks into the men's race, we're not too far from the finish, and we're just worried that we're going to get a breakaway here on this fast section into the run-in. But Milo will go and have a look and see what feedback we can give you on the ladies' side. At the moment, these 9 guys in the front, they're still pushing out 500, 470 watts, 500 watts. They're still doing a proper job.
Yeah, so let's maybe stay focused on them for just a little bit longer before we head over to the ladies' race. But we see there Jeanette backing her boy there as well, rooting for the vets. So there's the masseuse that you were talking about earlier.
There she is, Jeanette, good job. He's riding like an absolute champion. Well done.
Brilliant. You can see these guys, they're on a downhill section, but just before this downhill section they hit a gradient of about 6 or 7%, and we saw the 1 or 2 riders yo-yoing off the back there. I think these guys are really, really suffering at the moment, but they're hanging in there. It's almost like who's the hammer and who's the nail at this stage.
Ciao Luca, Brad all the way, says Luca. Well, Luca, you know, I'm not backing Brad for the win today, but yeah, he is the most dangerous guy here for us. So he's an awesome bike rider. He's an awesome virtual bike rider. He's shown that on a number of occasions. So Forza Brad.
There we go. He is our South African champion, in fact, in the criterium discipline. So it's great to see. I mean, we've seen our road race champion and our criterium champion getting involved in this type of racing, and it's Ryan Gibbons is actually back to real racing at the moment, the World Tour rider, the South African national champion. So he should be racing very soon over in Europe.
It's great to see. We're starting to get a little bit darker through the trees, and some of the guys have put their fancy lights on. So you know, a lot of these guys, when they go training early in the morning, you can see the little lights on the back of the bike shining nice and bright and red, and a couple of them you can see the light projecting in front of the bicycle. So yeah, a lot of these guys will be used to seeing those lights. A lot of them, you know, not all being full-time pros, will train early hours of the morning before they go and do their proper job in the real world. And yeah, we got the lights shining at the moment, so it's starting to get a bit dark there.
Unbelievable how realistic this type of virtual racing can get. But Tony, we're reaching the final stages of today's race. I can imagine if this was out on the real road, all these twists and turns would actually be playing a big difference. But guys pumping out the watts on their trainer, they're not too worried about riding in a straight line, or if they need to take a corner, they're just worried about staying at the front at the moment.
Well, you know, you can see a guy, he was on the front, he's a very good descender. Harbia descends really nicely, but he's positioned himself well. The guys are tossing there, pushing through each other, and yeah, this blob is going to the finish line, that's for sure.
Still the same amount of riders that entered that forest. I'm very surprised about that, but it looks like this is the group coming into the finish line. It's going to be who can ever time their sprint the best.
Yeah, Brad's got that absolute awesome kick at the finish. I mean, you know, when Brad puts in a 15-second effort at the finish, he can put out 1,046 watts with ease. So, you know, for Harbia to be able to get it over him, Harbia's only putting out 916 watts in that 15 seconds. But it's about the timing. It's how soon you start using that 1,000 watts as opposed to the 900 watts. So if we're clever, and Harbia, if you're listening to me, come on, buddy, I'm backing you. You can do this job. I know you can do it. You owe us a win. You owe yourself a win. You've been racing like an absolute champ. You might be tired. This is hard racing, but you're in there, and you're going to do the job for us.
See it getting stretched out here. Massive attack going off the front here. We see JP Lloyd trying to close the gap. Tony, I know you said mentioned team tactics early on. A lot of these riders use, or teams use Discord channels to communicate to each other while they're busy racing. But you think it's something that could play out in terms of team tactics? Maybe Harbier leading out Kent, or Kent leading out Harbier?
Yeah, in this case, I'd like to see Kent leading out Harbier. I think Harbier's just a little bit quicker. He's got a little bit more explosive power than Kent's got in the finish. And Harbier has mixed it once or twice in sprint finishes. Some have been successful, some haven't been that successful, but he's there. He's in the mix of the finishes. So, let's see if we can use Kent to actually dangle a little bit of a carrot and get the guys flustered and chase him. Who knows? And saying that, Kent moves to the front. So if he can really put it down, let's see. Maybe they have to chase him and he gets the other guys to chase, and Harbier gets a chance to surf those wheels and sit in that bubble a little bit.
So we are watching Harbier's screen now. This is in fact his helmet view. So this is, if he was riding on the road, this is exactly what you would be seeing. So let's, very, very close to the finish line now. There's about, I think they're in the last kilometer, to be honest. Was it 42 or 44 Ks?
42.6 miles, so we're into 900 meters to go. JP Lloyd on the front, we've got to be careful. There's a sneaky youngster, that one. He can do a job, he can time trial. But yeah, these guys are not letting anything get away.
So let's keep focused on Harbier's helmet screen. Your boy that you're backing today, they're in the last kilometer. So this is Harbier at the front of the bunch. JP Lloyd just on his wheel, Brad Guveris on his wheel. It's going to be who can time it properly. You can see how they're starting to sprint. JP Lloyd opening up his sprint. Harbier getting onto the wheel. You can see, like you're saying, Kent leading out his teammate here at the moment.
Don't let JP Lloyd go. 600, 500 meters to go. Don't let him go, guys. There's a very big danger there. That youngster, he can do this. He loves doing this. He loves catching the guys unawares. And he's going well. He's really looking good.
Hitting 12 watts per kilo there. He has done this before in a previous race where he outsprinted the South African national champion Ryan Gibbons. But has he gone too early? We see Harbier tucked in second wheel here. I think he's trying to jump across at the moment to get to JP, to get onto JP's wheel. He's closing the gap, but is it going to be enough?
This is a super ride by JP. He is really, really putting it to them. And there we go. There it comes. Peter Avenant putting in a big move. It seems as though Kent and Harbier are out of it, and the line, I think we just crossed the line there.
That was a exciting finish. Who was it there? It looked it was a bit of a mess.
It's showing there, it looks like it could have been Brad jumping out from the back, but that's all about that timing of your finish. We were speaking about earlier, time that finish. You've only got so many watts that you can put out for that 15 seconds. Don't use it too early, time it. If it was Brad, he timed it perfectly, an absolute track sprint finish. But JP, we saw him there. He put them to the sword. He really went hard, and it'll be interesting to see if that is the official result.
Yeah, so yes, JP is stretching it out there in the last kilometer. I think it was going according to that second lap result there. It was Brad Guveris, G. Muller, Travis Steadman, and then HB Kruger in fourth. Peter Avenant for a vet cyclist.
Great ride, Pete.
Fifth overall. That's not a bad result. JP finishing seventh in the end there. So a great race today, a great sprint finish. We honed in on HB Kruger's Harbier's screen at the moment. So we saw there, we were kind of following his screen, and we saw him cross the finish line in fourth. So unofficial result at the moment of the virtual Knysna cycle tour. So that's the very first one. So we're going to head over to the ladies now. We just need to find them on the companion app here. It was Michelle Andrew who was in the lead last time. Let's just find her screen.
Can see some of the other guys coming into the finish that were dropped earlier in the race, and yeah, what an exciting finish. This commentating on a screen in front of you on a virtual race is incredibly difficult, but I think as this is something that we become affay with more and more, you're going to get far better commentary. Sorry for a little bit of the screaming, but yeah, that's how it goes with a race finish. It's always exciting, and we try and get some of that excitement through to you in your lounge, your sitting room. But it is exciting. It's not always the right call, but it's great to watch. And racing in the blood. Racing is what it is. We love the racing.
So we're watching Michelle Andrews' screen at the moment. She is the lady in the A batch. There's only 2 of them today, unfortunately. In the A batch is Alnay Owen and Michelle Andrew. Don't see Alnay's name up there anywhere close, so maybe she is a little bit ahead. If we just scroll up here onto the side of the screen, let's see if we can spot another lady. But if we scroll down back to Michelle's screen, we can actually see where she is at the moment in terms of that. So she is first out of a total of 13 ladies in the race, and Alnay Owen, I don't think she is in the race anymore unless she is a little bit further down. But in terms of ladies, looks like Michelle is in the driving seat at the moment. We have a dead boss, a Nelspruit Zwifter. So we do have another lady she's riding with, but she is not in our race at the moment in terms of the Knysna cycle tour, and that is her name. How do you pronounce that, Tony?
Trimpelman.
Okay, Trimpelman from Nelspruit, obviously. That's her name. She hasn't entered for the Knysna cycle tour, but it looks like Michelle Andrew and her working very, very nicely together, and they have about 6Ks to go before the finish. We see a dead boss there, 1 minute and 47 seconds down on these ladies, and so she entered in the B category, a det. So she's a little bit far behind, but she's in for a podium spot definitely if she can keep up that tempo.
So although you see the 13 ladies on the screen, only 4 of them entered our race. So that's the only 4 that we're able to commentate on, one of them being Michelle, and Michelle is actually riding, she's going to win the ladies race, it looks like, with about 5 odd Ks to go and 1:27 over boss. Nobody's going to catch her, not now. She's looking really comfortable, riding smoothly, sitting pretty much upright, and she's got this one in the bag.
So let's head over to her dead screen. Let's see how she's doing, how her watts are doing. She's packing out a decent amount of power there, 300 watts. Like I said earlier, I do know her. I've ridden with her a couple of times, and in the amount of time that she's been cycling, she has really improved. Really improved a lot, and very motivated to keep on improving. So it's great to see her getting involved and joining today's race. So she is currently in 3rd overall out of all the ladies, all 13 ladies that started. Like we said at the start of the race, we can't kind of only put this race on for South Africans, so there are a bunch of other countries that do get involved, but you can see the majority of this race are South Africans. So Adet, she's in 3rd at the moment, and she looks like she's in for a podium today. Back onto Michelle's screen, you can see it's getting a bit dark. She's turned her light on, so Michelle Andrew. I looked at her profile picture now, and she's wearing a South African champion's jersey. So she must be a South African champion in the road race for her age cat.
Michelle is trying to keep ahead of the Nelspruit Zwifters rider, and maybe it's a little bit of motivation that she actually entered the race, the Knysna race, and she wants to win it properly. She doesn't want to see another lady finishing in front of her who hasn't actually entered the race, so that's keeping her going. So go on, Michelle, I'm backing you 100%. Put the hammer down, let her do some work, don't let her sit behind you, following you all the time. Try and get a little bit of drafting out of her, and make your finish count, girl.
There we go. We can see a couple of the B group riders getting caught now by these ladies. Well, they very close, but it's amazing. So these riders get batched up. The A category started off at exactly 4 o'clock. The B cat riders start off at 1 minute past 4, and then the ladies start at 2 minutes past 4 o'clock. So you can see some of these ladies actually overtook the B cat men. So it's quite incredible how strong some of these ladies can actually be when compared to some of the men. You can see there a couple of other countries getting involved in the Sport SA Talent race today, which is also known as the Knysna Cycle Tour virtual race. We can see there, Tony, there's a Frenchman, there's a person from the UK, a Canadian. It's great to see the whole world getting involved.
Yeah, see, there's a Go Vegan in there from from England. So, S. Kendall, all the way from England. Good job, well done. Knysna Cycle Tour is a beautiful place to come and visit. Very scenic part of our world, part of our coastline, and an incredibly popular tourist holiday destination. Lots of businesses have holiday homes down there, and yeah, you know, our heart goes out to towns like that at the moment through this coronavirus. I think towns like that do depend a hell of a lot on tourism, and you know, let this keep them on the map. It's great to see that they've actually taken a step into providing us with a virtual race, and to all those sponsors, Knysna, the Rotary Club, we take your hat off to you. Thank you for at least getting our guys back on bikes as well. It's incredibly important, and I think the world is a big challenge at the moment, and it's a challenge for everyone, and you guys have done a great job.
Yes, so the Knysna Oyster Festival, so this Knysna Cycle Tour forms part of the Oyster Fest, and it's one component to a whole bunch of other things that gets run through kind of that entire week. We have a mountain bike race, there's a trail running race, I think there's a rowing race, and it's all part of these outdoor activities which form part of the Knysna Oyster Fest. I'm not a fan of oysters, but but it's a great time of year to kind of go down to Knysna and experience what Knysna is all about.
That's great. It's also an extremely beautiful part of the country. Those Knysna heads, when you first see those, it almost takes your breath away. And yeah, it's beautiful, that Knysna Lagoon, as you come back into the town from Sedgefield side, from George side, incredible sights, and incredible place to be. Lots of friendly people live there, great restaurants, and super place to be. But always nice to go down to that cycle tour. It's you know, sometimes you just wish you weren't there just for the one weekend. You'd like to be there for the full 7 days.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you say, it's an incredible part of the world. I've actually ridden my bike from Richards Bay, no, not Richards Bay, one of those coastal towns, all the way along the Garden Route, and it's Jeffreys Bay, yeah, that's the one.
Surfers paradise.
Yeah, Richards Bay is more up north.
That'll be closer to your hometown. Eh?
That'll be a far ride. But Jeffreys Bay, all the way down to kind of Plettenberg Bay, Knysna George area, and it's beautiful. If you haven't done that before, it's definitely a tour that you need to book and kind of get involved in. It's unbelievable. It takes your breath away, like you were saying, Tony.
41.1 k's to go, so not too far from the finish. Total distance 42.6, so we're looking at about 1.5 k's, just under 1.5 k's. These two ladies seem to be matching each other, riding one on taking a chance on the front, then the next one gets a bit of a draft, and that's the place you want to be right now, Michelle. Stay in the draft, girl. Make her do the work. There's nobody that's going to catch you. Don't let her catch you at the finish. Please, my money's on you. I got to win one of the two today. Brad, well done. Great race.
Word in from Luca. Alnay had some technical issues. Her connection dropped, so Alnay is unfortunately not in the race anymore. But she was today's race favorite. So, like we always say, it's not necessarily your ability, but everything else needs to line up to be able to win races on the outside world and in the virtual world.
Here we go. 900 meters to go. So we'll start seeing the banners if we were racing out on the road outdoors, and telling us we would have gone under the 1k to go kite, that red kite that is displayed over the road, and we're down to 900 meters, and so we'll have the countdown every 100 meters showing us how much closer we're getting to the finish. We're now 600 meters away, and the rider in the green from Nelspruit Zwifters looks like she's trying to put in a little bit of a move. But Michelle is pushing out 5.4 at the moment. Don't let her wheel go, Michelle. Stay with her. Stay with her all the way. That's it. Close the gap. Stay there. Stay there. Be patient.
This is the helmet view. So we're going to stay locked on to Michelle's helmet view. And she's going to be starting her sprint very soon. If you look in the top left-hand corner or on her name on the right-hand side, you'll see those watts per kilo numbers slowly start to increase as you come to the finish line. As I say that, she's heading out 300.
Pick it up, Michelle. Don't let her stay away, but don't jump her yet. Stay there, stay there. Come on, it's just around this corner. Then you got to put in your effort. Get ready.
standing up on the trainer. It's very different to standing up on the road, but you can see now.
Go, girl.
Go.
Everything inside out. Leave it out on the road.
8 watts per kilo.
Come on.
She's just come off the wheel.
Go.
Last 100 meters, 50
Here's
meters,
your line.
20 meters.
Yes, please.
There we go, Michelle
Well done,
Andrew.
Michelle.
Brilliant ride by Michelle, coming out of the slipstream there at the exact moment she had to take home today's win. So she takes home the very first virtual Knysna Cycle Tour victory. Well done, Michelle. A couple of minutes back is, well, let's have a look to see how far Det still has to go. It's over here on the right hand side. So Det's boss, I think we have been kicked out. Yep, so the race is over. Unfortunately, Det was about 2 minutes behind, and it looks like she's going to round up the podium for the ladies. So thank you, everyone. Let's head over back to the start line screen. And there we have it. So thank you for joining in to the virtual Knysna Cycle Tour. Thank you to our sponsors. Today's event proudly presented by Trade Route Active. It's fantastic that we had this opportunity to be able to still race, even though we are not allowed to race out on the road just yet. So thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you for our next virtual race. Tony, thank you for joining into today's event and helping out with the commentary. It's great to have someone like you who has so much experience in cycling and still very much involved with the teams and the dynamic and how cycling works. So thank you for joining.
Milo, thank you very much, and to all of you that actually raced the Knysna Cycle Tour, the virtual event, well done. Hats off to all of you. It takes some doing to be able to sit on an indoor trainer for an hour and just push those pedals, so well done. You all champions.
Have a fantastic Sunday evening, and we'll see you guys soon.